So it's been a pretty big week for news as well, especially for Final Fantasy VII. The remake of Final Fantasy VII is going to be given away for free if you purchase with the PlayStation Plus, of course. But this is where this gets interesting because if you pre-purchased it, so you've already purchased it, and it's about £30 at the moment. What you then get is the free upgrade if you get the PS5. And they've improved all the graphics yet again, which is going to be amazing. However, you don't get that with the one if you get it for free. So that's one thing that they've done. They've also announced there's going to be a mobile game. So there's going to be a mobile game, like a battle royale, I believe, mobile game called Final Fantasy VII: The First Soldier. They are really going in for this Final Fantasy VII push. I've said that it's going to be free on PlayStation. And one of the things I think that might be happening, because they're talking about timed exclusives being more of a thing, and timed exclusives and then moving across to PC, what they've really got going on here is because Days Gone is moving to PC as well. I think we may be seeing Final Fantasy VII Remake go to PC very soon. Or be announced for coming in the next 3 to 6 months. That's very, very likely. Also, Spotify now has the Final Fantasy VII tunes music on there as well. So lots of stuff happening over Final Fantasy VII at this moment in time. That takes us to other PlayStation news because there seems so much of it. Gran Turismo 7 delayed till 2022. Not a surprise. Not a surprise whatsoever. If you remember, we had Roving Bear talking about games getting cancelled, pushed back, because that could be quite interesting. And that's one of the games which is supposed to be around launch time, being pushed back to 2022. If you like Twisted Metal, that's going to be coming back as a TV show. That could be a very interesting slash weird indication of what they're going to do with a TV show. Again, to keep your eyes on, especially this is probably there's one other piece of information that came out of Sony, and I think this is quite an intriguing piece, especially because there's been so much news coming out recently. Before I go into more detail on one or two bits, they're going to allow third-party SSD drives as long as they meet the same speed. So the fear of getting like the PlayStation or the Xbox of having to buy their own personal SSD drives, they've removed that. Very interesting, and I think a big step forward. Obviously, other news, Stadia's closed down the in-house dev that it has. They had an in-house development team, they've obviously closed that down. There's obviously talk about them having few issues, but they're rubbishing themselves away from the situation. Would be very interesting again in the next few weeks and months to have a look, see how Stadia is actually doing. Stadia as an idea is pretty good. It's definitely something I think you'll see Sony and Microsoft going into in the future, and I think Stadia is going to get squeezed out when they do start moving in, if they don't have a foothold in the market already. They feel a little bit like Mixer when Mixer came around, because it felt like Mixer tried to put their foot in the market and just got their foot slammed on. What else do we have? We have Anthem's remake, which was long awaited because everyone admits pretty much that the Anthem story was dead, buried, and awful. The Anthem remake is going to be scrapped, but they're still keeping the game servers open. But the Anthem remake has been scrapped. That's an intriguing one for me because I was looking forward to doing the remake because I thought the gameplay was really good. I just thought the ending was ridiculous, and I really can't say in strong enough words how bad that was. Okay, so more exciting news. Life is Strange is looking like it's going to get a sequel directly to the Max and Chloe story. This interests me because it gives up two very interesting points. Now, firstly, what is the true ending of Life is Strange? no spoilers, but what's the true ending of Life is Strange? They have to tell you the true ending if they're going to do a sequel based on the back of it. But it could be very interesting. It would be once again focusing on Max and Chloe. That's the rumor, at least. The other is that there is the other thing that Life is Strange is apparently doing. So there'll be a completely new cast. The other game that they're talking about is a completely new cast. It's an Asian American woman who can read minds. That's the other rumor. Interesting. It has the spiritual aspect in there, so that was like the thing. Not going to touch on any of the other characters though. That's disappointing to me, but in the same way, I don't mind that. You know, Life is Strange 2 works because it was new characters. It'd be nice to have a few characters cross over, so you can have that moment that you have with one of the characters in Life is Strange 2, and you can be like, oh yeah, that was really cool. However, it'd be very interesting to see which direction they go with these two pieces of information. These two games, which are going to be connected to the Life is Strange series. I would say with any rumors, take it with a massive pinch of salt. And I don't honestly think they'll touch the Max and Chloe story again, because obviously they're going to have to say the true ending. So I don't think they'll switch to Max and Chloe story. But we'll see. Obviously, they've recently split with their recent partner, and they've gone to the one who made Life is Strange Before the Storm. So, as I say, we'll see how they develop this as an option. And if it does come true, I'll be very surprised. Stardew Valley have a board game coming out, right? We don't know how it's going to work or anything like that. There is actually a video out of it, and it looks absolutely amazing. The idea is to it's a cooperative board game. The idea is to complete all your grandfather's goals, which might be like because I see there's like fishing and stuff like that there, which is absolutely awesome. So yeah, the whole idea is to go and complete your like grandfather's goals. That's gonna be really awesome to do. Could be very interesting to see and very interesting to do. I'm hoping they do the board game well. I'm sure it's gonna be a massive success because like crossing that over, and yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will pick that board game up. Now, can't really think of many video games that have gone across and done board games, but as I say, we will absolutely 100% see how that goes. Now, we should really start talking about the big aspect of this week's podcast. So how did you answer the question of your first and your favourite console? I asked a few people. I also put it into Discord, and if you wanted to, and you were part of that Discord, you can answer. Cat Dodds said his first was the Sega Mega Drive, and his favourite was the Xbox One. Two quite interesting options there. Xbox One kind of surprised me because not many people came out with like the Xbox One. Now, the SNES was brought out as somebody's favourite and first. This is where I thought more people would be going to call their first their favourite. This is where I actually thought more people would go. And that was Red. If he's from Shadow Van Dark's channel. He's also a D&D'er. Duck Plague answered with his first being the Atari 2600. Classic. Absolute classic. But his favourite being the PS1. Yes, PS1 is pretty solid and brilliant. Marshmallow Sam takes us to the PS1 for the first one, but their favourite being the Xbox 360 due to Halo. So maybe not the console as much. Definitely for a game or a game series. So that's interesting. It's definitely something that. Are people more attracted to the games? For example, I'm attracted to PlayStation 1 quite a bit because of the Final Fantasy VII, for example. But that was your answers anyway. We've really got one last thing to talk about, and this is going to be my longer topic where I don't try to rush as much. Obviously, we spoke about Square Enix being extremely busy at this moment in time with their announcement. We also have spoke a little about other pieces of things inside the. Now we move to the Nintendo Switch, and announced very recently this new Pokemon game. Trying to think of its name. Pokemon. Let me just. It's one of the things, isn't it? Arceus. And also Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but for them two for the time being. We're gonna go for the what looks to be a more open worldy Pokemon. And when we discuss like the open worldy style of this Pokemon, I'm worried for the game. It feels like they've gone somewhere in between Pokemon Go, Let's Go, and just like it's a mess of where it looks like it's gone, but we will actually see. They've taken it away from the fighting aspect, from what I can see, and it'd be interesting to see what they do. And obviously, Square Enix flipped up and changed Final Fantasy VII's fighting. Is it gonna be quite similar, so that you like command what you're doing? And I don't know. The fact that you can just throw a ball just like free roaming is another interesting one. I'm very unsure how that's going to work. I think that there is definitely things in that idea that could really work. But in the same way, I like look at it and I feel that there's so many elements of that I'm not sure how it's going to work. So it looks like it's based years upon years in the past. There is there's the mythic, of course, and then there's just you going around. It's gonna be interesting to see because they don't change the graphics very much to make it feel older. It'd be interesting to see like the towns and stuff. See if towns feel older at that point. I'm not sure that they will. I'm not honestly 100% sure that we're gonna have this whole new design look. I think they're going to go very similar in design. I like on the trailer they used the book and like the pictures. It made it feel a bit more old. However, I'm not sure that's going to go through to the whole gameplay. Now, I'm definitely hoping that they can manage to pull this off. And I'm very excited to the Diamond and the Pearl reboot. Don't get me wrong. I remember playing Diamond and Pearl and I actually really enjoyed them. Now, it's one of them things though where I like look at what Diamond and Pearl is, and I think it's the same set, and I think that'd be really cool to do the open world. But I'm very worried for it. Obviously, the open world thing allows them to open it up more to possibly having more multiplayer aspects. But you got to remember, the most recent Pokemon had multiplayer aspects because you could walk around with your friends as long as you was on the same thing, but the Nintendo Switch is absolutely awful anyway for multiplayer online. Now, when I was trying to figure out my favorite console, just taking it back to the discussion I was trying to have with you guys, Nintendo Switch failed quite badly because it feels like the Nintendo Switch should have a multiplayer option with like voices transferring over. However, their solution was by doing it by the phone. So if they're thinking of putting this and then maybe evolving it to a multiplayer game, so a more multiplayer game, they can't do it on the Nintendo Switch unless they change the Nintendo Switch's systems. Because it's so hard to get into something as a multiplayer game and not be able to talk to your friends. Oh, but you can do it over the phone. It's just a bit of a cop-out, in my opinion. You might as well just ring them on WhatsApp instead of using a Nintendo device. That's my one issue here with the look of the game. I feel like they're headed towards multiplayer. They definitely have like Breath of the Wild like graphics as well, which looks really cool. I'm just wondering how they're going to do it. Because if they do it well, this game could be really, really successful. If they don't do it quite so well, and we get to this point where it's not being handled as well it possibly could be, then I think you're going to start struggling. However, I have full faith that they'll produce a decent game. I don't think there's any part of me that says they're not going to produce a decent game. Said that about Dontnod as well. But that's really that for Pokemon, this Pokemon Legends game. It's obviously the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. That's a big, big achievement. 25 years. Makes me feel old. So yeah, Game Freak obviously been very successful over that period of time. I started out with Pokemon Yellow or Red. But my first console, going to the question I asked you, my first console was the Amiga. My favourite console. Now, my favourite console to play, and this is much the reason, same reason as what a couple of other people nailed it, was the PlayStation 1. The reason for this was because I loved the PlayStation 1. It had the ability to do multiplayer and not be on the same screen, and it did all that. So you could, like the Commander and Conquer game, for example. Really. Commander and Conquer Red Alert, I think we played. So yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. That was amazing. I do enjoy my Commander and Conquer. I do enjoy my Final Fantasy VII, and that's where I played Final Fantasy VII, and I think that's what makes it my favourite console. Gaming console at the very least. Then I obviously want to put a few other consoles in there. So the Game Boy, and this takes me back to Game Freak. The Game Boy, for example, I really enjoyed. Again, it had a multiplayer element to it, and I think it was a very good console. You had to be right next to each other. So yeah, overall, I think the Game Boy was a very good console that did its job at the time in the market in question. I have a lot less good things to say about what followed the Game Boy. The Game Boy, was it the Game Boy Color Advance, which just didn't really advance anything for me, and I didn't really enjoy it. My other consoles of note was the Xbox 360. Obvious reasons for that one. There was so many really good games on the Xbox 360. But I also think PlayStation 3 was pretty good as well. I think it was very even. It was the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, I believe. It's one of them things, though, where I kind of like look at it all. And as I think about each and every single one, and I should like look at generation by generation, PlayStation was pretty much not touched. PlayStation 2 and Xbox. PlayStation 2 and Xbox, I think there was only one option there for me. PlayStation 2. The Xbox was just big, chunky, horrible. It was basically a mini PC, which wasn't even that much of a good computer console. The 360, Xbox 360, they brought Viva Pinata, one of my favourite games, and I got to see Sophie Walls play it very recently. And I think that's one of the things I really enjoy. When I look at the Xbox 360, for example, I remember Viva Pinata very vividly and very happy memories. So then as I go through like everything and I like look at other consoles, which I had Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo was amazing. I really enjoyed the Super Nintendo. Sega Master System, really enjoyed that one too. But the one console I would put in God tier, which I didn't really enjoy as a console personally, but the reason why it's at this is because it's a little different and it revolutionized the gaming industry, in my opinion. And that's the Nintendo Wii. The Nintendo Wii found a way to revolutionize the gaming industry in such a way that we now have VR. It was the first VR thing, I think, that really took off. And it got families involved. And it's not VR, is it? But it was the starting block of VR. That then takes me to I think that they dropped the ball since that point. I think the rest of the consoles that they've produced certainly have not been to that standard. Now, if I was to talk about significance within the time frame, obviously would you have your Super Nintendo, you would have a load of those classics in there. The Atari, for example, classic. So the Wii wins on significance and how far it pushed the story of what a gaming console was and what a gaming console could be and what it will be. I don't think we've ever had a step like that since. And I think that's really important to reference and mention when you're talking about the Nintendo Wii and you talk about Nintendo consoles as a whole, taking us back to Game Freak and the Nintendo. The other thing that I think that I really want to talk about, and we talked about this in stream. We had Duck Plague, who I mentioned earlier. Duck Plague mentioned that we was talking about the difference between AAA titles and difference between titles which were produced by one or two people. So I'm going to say Valheim, Phasmophobia, Stardew Valley, mentioned before in today's podcast. Now, these are very much small people who are doing this game development on their own. They don't have much support. I think Valheim has like 5 people. And I think what they've done is prove that there is now more of a movement to this smaller pocket of people who care more about the game itself instead of the name of the game. I asked so many people when they came into the stream, how many of the games that they play now are AAA titles? Most people would bring out a Call of Duty or a FIFA, but that was about it. It wasn't big. There wasn't that many of them. But then they would reference Stardew quite a lot, the Phasmophobia quite a lot, Valheim. And they'd reference a lot of these smaller companies. And we had a whole conversation and debate why these companies and these smaller areas do so much better. And we came up to a few conclusions. I'm going to reference AAA title and lower title. Okay. So AAA, you generally are probably going to be paid more to do it. You're going to be paid more hourly to do it. You're going to have a guaranteed hourly wage. But that makes it a job. That makes it a 9 till 5 run-of-the-mill job unless you love your product and you love your company that you're doing it for. Some designers can do this. However, these designers who can do this, I would argue many of them step away from the AAA titles and go, actually, I'd like to make this game. And that's where they start making their own games. Yes, they are a lot more at risk, which is going to be an issue, which is why many people who would love to do this probably can't. And they can't really sell this to a publisher saying, this is what we'd like to achieve. This is the games we'd like to make. But we'd like you to fund us to do it. Obviously, you mentioned that to Activision. They're going, well, you're working on Call of Duty already, so why do we need you to be doing this? So you have to break away. You have to make it your own. Then it becomes a labour of love. It becomes something which you are invested in. It's something that your house is probably mortgaged against. And that's when it becomes more of a project to you and more of a love to you than what it is if it's a AAA title. And as we was talking through all these things, and we was talking about how much love you put into something. Now, if you put a bit of extra love into your cooking, your cleaning, your anything really, you always get a better result. And I think this is why it's always quite interesting when we start talking about these things, because if I'm honest and in all reality, I don't honestly believe there is a good solution to AAA titles at this moment in time. I'd say the best AAA title companies are those like Rockstar, and I'll get it in the neck for this one. But let me explain my reasoning. Rockstar seem to have a very set team, and they have this team, and don't get me wrong, they do the whole crunch towards the end, and that's bad in some people's eyes. But as long as after that crunch they get 2, 3, 4 weeks off to go off and enjoy a holiday, then why is that a bad thing? Work extra hard for 4 weeks to have 4 weeks off? Ugh. People would jump at that. Fully paid 4 weeks off, I'm in. You know? I honestly think that personally, I prefer that kind of work style. I'll put in hard days at work for 4 weeks just to be able to have 4 weeks off. I have to get up, you know? For me, that work style works, and I think this is where, when we look at game developers, it's important for them to pick which company they go to. When they look at a job advertisement, as same as anybody else, so for example myself applying for a pub or anywhere like that, then it's really important to take a look and see what the working environment's like. Some pubs are your locals. Some pubs are a little bit more hustle and bustle. They're your cocktail bars. A good bar person in a cocktail bar is not a good person in a local. Most cocktail bars need you to be a little bit flash, a little bit jazzy, but hurry it up. Your local requires you to take your time, relax, enjoy. Talk to the customer. Make the customer feel special. Rub his ego. And that's the difference. And I think that philosophy goes across all things. When you're like looking at game developers, for example, and I think that's really important, that you go to the right company, because for some people, they will love the crunch. They will love getting it out on time. Others will hate that, and they prefer to delay the game. I'm not saying either way is correct. I think either side have different developers who would be better or worse when it comes to those issues. And this is the one thing that gets me, because no one's the same. No one's the same, and I think that's really important. So when you read reviews or anything like that, you got to remember that as well. So when I say I have a little bit of hope for this Pokemon game, I honestly think that it could be very successful. There'll be people out there who have seen it and who'll go, this is not going to be successful. There'll be other people that seen it and think it's going to be a major success. But when you're trying to evolve something and change something, you're always putting that brand at risk. I know it doesn't really put Pokemon at risk because it's just a one-off game and they've got 2 other games coming out at the same time. However, there is that risk there. Altering and changing. Overall, I think that about sums everything up. Do I think they'll make an amazing game? No. However, Nintendo Switch isn't the best console to have a multiplayer game on, and I'm assuming there'll be a multiplayer element to here. I would guess so, at least with the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. But what are your opinions, guys? Remember, you can always drop me a follow on Twitter. You can always join our Discord. You can do a numerous number of things to get in touch. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment. But yes, we should hopefully be having more guests coming up very soon. There's one definitely interested in guesting, which would be amazing. I have a lot of respect for that streamer. And we've already mentioned him on this before, so we shall see if we can get time together to establish something that we can work with. However, anyway, I'm going to wish you well. I'm going to wish you do. I want you to have a fantastic day. I want you to keep safe, okay? Remember, these were just my opinions. We started off with the news, then we got into more stuff. Yeah, I'm very excited for the Final Fantasy VII edits and the changes to make it for PS5, and I am looking forward to getting a PS5. Will my expectation that Final Fantasy VII will just be a limited time release for PlayStation? Yes, I do think that'll be true. We will see. Lots more to see in the future, and I hope you stay well and you stay safe. Please, I will see you all very soon. And remember to take note of these numbers. Keep safe, keep well. Later.
Hey guys, Roving Bear here. If you've enjoyed our pod chats and you've enjoyed other great content, you can find more from me at twitch.tv/The Roving Bear. Stay safe. I love you all.
You have been listening to a Sanctuary podcast. I have been your host, Bareth87, and there's a few things I'd like to just add. Please remember these important phone numbers. The Samaritan UK is 116123. That's 116123. Shout UK, this is a text line. It's 85258. That's 85258. And Crisis Line USA is 1-800-273-8255. That is 1-800-273-8255. Please go and check out your local phone numbers for organisations like this and pass these numbers on to your friends and family. Keep them in your phone for when you need them and make sure you are using these very important resources. From myself, Bareth87, I want to wish you a fantastic evening, day or morning. You can find me at www.twitch.tv/Bareth87. And again, peace out and stay well.
Beep, beep. You've been listening to a Sanctuary broadcast. We will now resume regular programming.